Good morning and welcome to Playtime by Fawns. My name is Graham Scott. I'm the Sales Director at Playtime by Fawns. I'm really thankful to Martha for joining us again today. How are you, Martha? You okay?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Yes, very good, thank you. Thank you for joining us again today. Martha, I just wanted to touch on kind of the early years age group today, kind of the 3 to 5 year olds. We work closely with nurseries and early years settings, and just wanted to try and get an understanding of their kind of emotions during this time, and certainly during the lockdown, and get a little bit more insight into what you call big feelings. Can you give us a little bit of insight into what that means and what the children will be going through?
Yeah, so children of this age range, it's really like tricky. I think most people talk about tantrums, but I think of them as big feelings because children feel their emotion with their entire bodies, and all emotions are just felt like within their bodies rather than in their minds. Like us adults might, have worried thoughts, or we might have like thoughts that make us angry as well. These children don't at this age. They just feel. And at the moment, especially for 3 to 5 year olds, one of the things that happens is if their routine is disrupted, and for them, their routine is the time that they eat, the time that they play, the time that they sleep. If that gets disrupted, then what you might see is lots of big feelings emerging. So children who become quite irritable, they might become quite upset very easily. You might see that they struggle to sleep or fall asleep. They also have like much more physical reactions to the feelings. So some children start to bedwet or become incontinent, even though they're completely, doing well with toilet training before.
Yes.
So for me, those are physical symptoms of an emotion. And usually the emotion can be in lockdown, it might be anxiety, but children don't express anxiety like we would. So those are some of the things that you might see will be the behavioral bits. So those are the things that I call big feelings.
Yeah, and that's obviously, it's just that they're kind of anxiety about the situation, really. They don't see it as a physical thing, so therefore they're unsure, and therefore, just kind of understandably, they're going through these different emotions.
Yeah, because children don't understand what a virus is. So children of this age, they only understand the things that they see. So the world is very simple to them. If they see it, it exists. If they can't see it, then it's not real. And if it's not real, their imagination is so active that they will make up what it might look like. So that is why children are scared of things like monsters. And often, parents will try and reassure children that the monster's not there. But for children, monsters are there because monsters are feelings. So when you say to a child, it's okay, there's no monster under your bed, it's not real. The reason why children often don't believe the adults is because the monster is actually their imaginative representation of what they're feeling, which is probably fear.
That's interesting.
So,
Yeah, I didn't realise that.
yeah. And at the moment, a virus, we can't see the virus. And to children of this age range, that will be really confusing, and it can be anxiety provoking because they can't see it. So they're probably imagining a thing, but what they're imagining will be unique to every child. They won't imagine a virus like we imagine a virus. So what's really important in this age group is to open up conversations with them, start at their starting point. So if you notice that your child is having big feelings, or you notice that something's happened behaviorally that's changed, either in the way that they're eating or sleeping or toileting, I would take a pause and talk to them, but not in the way that adults talk to children. So I would use play and I would use a drawing to kind of open up conversations and go where they are. So start the conversation where they start it. So sometimes children will ask a question, and it might be a really strange question, like when is the flu coming, something like that, or when is the flu going away. If they ask something like that, ask them what that means to them. So rather than just answering, ask them what it means. So what do you think the flu is, or what do you think the virus is? Should we draw it out? Can you show me? What do you think it looks like? And that gives you like a sense of their world. You can do it through play as well, with like little toys, little cars. They have conversations about the flu, and you just ask lots of curious questions.
Yeah, just on that then, it's kind of interacting with them through play, but trying to get them to do, I've seen you kind of use Lego as well as kind of some construction, and just get them playing, and then as soon as they're into that environment, then get them to kind of open up and relax and ask open-ended questions, and
yes,
kind of, yeah, see it from their perspective rather than asking direct questions.
yes, yes. So, if you ask a child, let's say your child is bedwetting. If your child is bedwetting and you think it's anxiety related, if you say to your child in the middle of the day, what are you scared of? They'll say nothing. Because in that moment, they're not scared. So children live in the here and now. They're very present to right now. And they don't really, in this age range, they don't really understand the concept of time because it's abstract. They often can't read clocks, and they don't, unless you make it a very visual timer, they have no idea. So when you say 5 minutes, one of the things that happens with children, if you say, wait 5 minutes, and they like, yeah. And the big feeling comes, it's because 5 minutes is an eternity to them. Yeah. They don't know what 5 minutes is. It's abstract. So you can set timers or things like that with things like time, but it's the same with asking about a feeling like, what are you scared of, or what you're worried about. They can't have that conversation like we would. So if they're playing, and this is what you'll hear with 3 to 5 year olds, they'll play and you'll hear them speak, and they will say things to do with the situation. And those are the times where you've got a little clue that maybe there's something going on, and I would use their words, their language, and try and like join in their play with, or their drawing or whatever they're doing, and start the conversation, but start it from where they're at. And try and be very specific about things, because children of this age range believe that things happen either by magic, so things they can't see happen by magic, or they happen as a punishment. So a lot of 3 to 5 year olds are very self-blaming. Something breaks, for example, if the TV breaks or something, and your child has been using the remote control without you knowing, and then the TV breaks, they will think it's their fault and they will blame themselves. And even if the TV broke just because it's an old TV, or the reception's not working, it's got nothing to do with your child, they will take responsibility, because they perceive certain things as, if this happens, then it's my fault. For example, things like sayings that we might say, if you don't wear your coat, you might catch a cold.
Yes.
Children will believe that it's not wearing a coat that gives them a cold.
Yeah, no, it's so interesting. It's fascinating to kind of understand, how they blame themselves as well.
So I think being really cautious with language, especially if your child is experiencing big feelings at the moment in lockdown and they're confused, being really clear but simple about why they're not seeing their friends. Some children at the moment in this age range might be worried that they're never going to see their friends again. So I think it's about, you don't know when perhaps they're going to be able to see their friends face to face, but you can say to them, I know you miss your friends, if that's the case, and we will see them again, but I don't know when. As soon as I know, I will tell you, because it's also okay as a parent not to know all the information. We don't know all the information at the moment. And then if you know that friendships is one of the things that brings up big feelings for them, they're finding really difficult, is there ways that you can connect with friends? So either virtually through video, but I know for this age range it's really tricky. They're not engaged with it. Again, it's too abstract because there's no one there. It's a bit like watching a cartoon, and it's not very engaging for them. Sitting and talking is not something 3 to 5 year olds do. They play. So you can instead do things like set up with other parents to do a drawing exchange, or where they exchange things by post. So every day they get a different post from a different friend, and it just brings them closer. You can do things like sending each other music. So think of a song that your friend would really like, send it to them, and then they could do a little dance and film it. So what they share is little videos. Another sweet idea that came from a family, so it's not my idea, but I think it's really lovely, is to hold a diary, a picture diary. So you draw a little picture every day of something you've done, and mum and dad can join in. But then at the end of lockdown, if you've done this with other friends and other families, you can exchange your diaries. And then you
That's
could
a
write little
fantastic.
questions to your friend, you know, like, did you do this? Or, and then they respond to each other. But it's a little story. So one, it's a little bit of like a memory of something you've done over lockdown. It's quite a nice little keepsake. But if they all share them amongst them, then they get to read what their friend did in lockdown.
Yeah.
So I know it's something that they'll be doing later, but it can keep kids really entertained, because in their minds they are connecting with their little friend when they're doing the drawing and
I think
all that
chatting,
kind of
chatting
stuff.
with friends who have got children of this age group, and obviously, yeah, been through it as a parent myself, I think the biggest concern is that anxiety about them missing out with their peers and their friends and that interaction. But anything, yeah, like the ideas you put forward really does kind of help them to kind of interact with their peers and keep that kind of relationship going, really. It's, yes.
I think be creative, but also ask your child, because your child is such a great source of creativity. So if they really miss their friends, say, what would you like to do? And some children will tell you. They'll just say, I mean, they could say things like, you know, the drawing idea that I gave you, that also came from a child who said, I want to draw every day and send it
Wow.
to my friend.
Yeah.
And then my friend sends me a drawing every day. So every day when the post arrives, they're really excited because they're connecting with each other. And, you know, that came from a child. So ask your child what they want to do.
Yes.
What would be a nice way of still feeling like they're in touch with their friends, even though they can't see them?
Yeah, no, it's challenging, but I think people can overcome it, really. I think, yeah, it's just ideas and suggestions and communication between children and adults, really, to find out how they're feeling and working together, really. Communication is key, really.